When we work with an experiment, we have a few goals to keep in mind. Mainly, we want to be able to have control, randomization, and replication. That is, we want what we get to actually have come from what we did. We don't want confounding factors, as it were, throwing off our results. For example, if we're trying to see about the effect of remodeling on a coffee shop, we don't want there to be something else that could color the results away from what we're looking at. In that case, if they have increased business, it might be because of the remodel, or it might be that another store opened a block away and people just like getting coffee on their way out from the store. We want there to be something that is actually measurable by what we're looking at. There's nothing else, or at the very least, what else could be affecting what we're doing is minimized. From there, we want the selections we make for our study, for our experiment, to be fair and unbiased. And we want our results to be fair and unbiased, which is where the randomization comes into play. Because it's important to remember when we're talking about this stuff that, we may not be putting things in the fairest way. We may be coloring results. And one thing that can happen with an experiment is we can get caught by the placebo effect, which I'm sure many of you guys have heard of, where what happens is by being put in a situation where someone thinks they're being studied, even if they're in the control group, even if they're not actually having an effect to study, they might still get a reaction because they know they're being watched, because they know there's a chance that they've been given a treatment. So, we want to be sure that this is as fair in that way as we can make it, that our results are as representative as we can get them to be. And one way that we can help that is by using blinding, in particular double blinding, where when we're talking about blinding, we're talking about making it so that researchers don't know who specifically is being studied, who is in the treatment group. And in a double-blind study, neither the subjects nor the researchers know who's being studied, which hopefully will give the best results. Best in the sense of most accurate rather than most ideal. Sometimes when you're looking for a particular treatment, you really want to get a result. But it is very important that even if you don't get the result you want, you know that that result is meaningful. Really bad things can happen if you get bad answers to important questions, even if they're the answers that going in you would have preferred to have gotten. So you have to be very careful with that. And then finally, you want repeatability. You want to be able to run the study and then run it again. You want to be able to have someone else take your exact design and try it a second time and see if they get the same results. Because unless you do test every single possible subject, there's always a chance that no matter how well you worked, something else in here could have gone wrong. So you want there to be the ability for someone else to try it again to see what happens, to see if it still works. And with all of this stuff, another way that we can help make everything work better is by looking at making the sample size larger. This is something that we'll talk about in more detail later on, specifically in Chapter 5, but generally when we're trying to look at a sample to represent a population, we can always make that sample better by taking more things into it. The bigger a sample gets, naturally, the closer it gets to a population.